NFL Week 1 live pick show. Remember, last year we did this show, those of you that were around then. And this year, of course, going to be bigger and better. Going to be tough to be bigger than Big Al's record last year on this show. Al, what was the record again?
Oh gosh! In the regular season, it was 164 and 115 with 6 pushes. In the playoffs, 5 and 8, so 169 and 123 with 6 pushes combined.
Oh, you will not get juiced on that type of performance, that's for sure.
I will not do that. I will not do that again. That was pretty eye popping.
Well, the pressure's on. This is maybe it's a new strategy for you in handicapping. You just pick every game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, this is basically what happened is when you pick the games. This just shows you all those games you left on the table, that you could have picked.
Well, I mean, look, I don't think it's going to happen again because I think it's really hard to pick every game. I mean, if it's a 16 game card and you like 5 games, that means you're picking 11 games you might not give a shit about, and it's hard to have that kind of return on games you don't care about. But we'll do it again.
Do we see, like in college, we've already seen the first down rule kind of change things a little bit. Do you see anything this year in the NFL that might change things a little bit? I mean, a few years ago when they moved the extra point back or, just any kind of rule change, any little glitch, or you think we're going on the same way? Because last year seemed to be a tremendous amount of second half comebacks, like big comebacks. The Jaguars had a couple massive comebacks, and of course, the Vikings, right, against the Colts. That was just...
Yeah, the Jaguars, that was the third biggest playoff comeback, of all time, right? I think that's what it was. That was crazy.
It's pretty much how the season went. Jay, how you doing? Got your Cowboys ready to roll this season. You're wearing your Bengals hat, though, where you made a lot of money last year from the non-believers.
Yeah, man, I'm excited for the NFL season, man. It is upon us finally. Great action starting tomorrow and then a full card on Sunday. And I got some of the best guys to help talk it through with right now. So super excited.
Yeah, I'm all excited about it myself, to be honest. And I think where I'm really struggling this year is really I'm betting different ways. And it's like, I love my regular handicap, my regular betting. I'm going to continue to do it as long as I can. And then I'm also involved in some larger betting syndicates, and where I don't actually make the picks. So it makes it a little different. In some cases, I might be against myself, but my bets that I'm betting against myself are going to be much smaller.
See, I could never do that. I've got such a strong opinion on my plays. I mean, everyone's different, but I've got such a strong opinion that I couldn't take, like I wouldn't care if it was Billy Walters. I'm not taking this goddamn play.
Yeah, see,
I'm betting my plays.
I take it, and I win. And it's like, I think that's really, at the end of the day, it covers my other losses. It helps me with my other wins, and it makes it a little tougher to make bets, but at the end of the day, it's all about winning, and however you get there is all good. It's one of those things where I think we'll go all season long and probably talk about like the little nuances and changes and differences between that style and maybe what I've done traditionally and maybe what some of the other guys are looking at, because there's always way more than one way to get it done. I mean, I've seen guys that do, the craziest stuff. I mean, you ever go to, like, I don't know if you guys play casino games, but you ever go to the craps table and just like, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing, and he walks away with a stack of chips and you end up losing. You see it all the time, and it happens. I see it in football too. I see it in baseball betting. It's rare that the guy that wins the big contest in Vegas is a pro. I mean, it's rare.
Well, that's also a numbers game, right? I mean, there's 6,000 people in the contest.
Well, so now there is.
Most of the people in the contest aren't pros, which means they have a decent chance of winning.
Well,
but I agree with you, Mitch. There's so many different ways. I've said that for years. There's so many different ways to skin the cat when it comes to handicapping. Lots of different approaches. People have different styles and different ways to do things. So yeah.
What we've been doing is in a nutshell, like from way high level view, it's basically you look at the juice applied to a game and you look at the juice across the different books, and you almost turn the tide on the weakness in the books when you see a bad bad number or bad juice. The problem is when you get when you get down on that number, the books know you got down on that number. They know it's not like, oh man, this guy won and he had the Packers and they came in or whatever. It's like they know exactly what you did and exactly what happened, and you didn't do anything illegal, you didn't do anything wrong, you won, and that's kind of not what they wanted to happen. And they know that you got an edge on them because a sharp book had a different number or different juice on the game. And so that's basically how you get into the position where you're always kind of on the lookout for people that are looking to partner up with you or something. I don't know. It's a weird thing, right? It's like a different game.
Opens up other problems that you need to solve.
Right. So. It opens up other problems, but also, it also exposes more people to winning picks, which is good too. So it works both ways. We'll figure it out. We'll all navigate that territory as it comes to it. But Jay is hosting an NFL afternoon show at about this same time, or is it 4 o'clock, or is it this time?
4.
4. So every day at 4 o'clock, Jay will be doing this show. We have the show on the NFL on Fridays with the Sauce, similar to this format. And then we have a show, college football show with the Sauce on Saturday. I'll be on, rotating people in and out on those shows. So, more football coverage than we've ever had. Jay had his first show yesterday, and I think it was really good overall, especially for a first show. And I think it helps that he had a bunch of guys that, he knew and had been on the show, and, the hard part is when you get people on there and it's like they've never been on a show before, and it's like they just freeze in the headlights, right? It's like, and then you're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. Right? Everyone remembers their first show, their first video. Not always so hot. Well, I guess we can get going on this and, start getting into the games. We got a lot of ground to cover. And it all starts on Thursday night. And this one's at 8:20 Eastern time. It is the Chiefs and the Lions. The line in this game has moved significantly with Kelsey possibly not playing, or he's playing. I've seen 4.5s. I've seen some 5s out there. Once again, find out who the sharpest books are. Look at their lines. Usually that's the line, and go from there. Al, what do you think the sharp books are for me? Circa, Westgate,
Pinnacle,
Westgate, Bet Chris.
And if folks are curious, for me, I use Circa's line at the time we give out our picks here as the grading line. So Circa has it at 52.5 right now for the total. Let me see what the side is at Circa.
I was actually pretty random, but I think what we could do is
4.5, 52.5.
Well, if Circa wants to pay for their lines on our show, we'll gladly defer to Circa lines and let everybody know those are the lines that we're using. So if anyone's
I just don't pick and choose. I just take one book's line. I think that's a fair way to grade. And
I think for the show, what I did today, and going out further, we could probably use Circa or Westgate or one of the other ones that I mentioned.
Well, but the thing is, Mitch, is you're preparing the graphics ahead of time, which may or may not be the lines that actually are when we tell the people to play. So, I'm actually using Circa at the exact moment we're giving out the game, whatever the line is, because lines can change.
Sounds fair enough. I think what Al is just saying is that he's trying to be as true to the line as you possibly can be, because the line, especially in the NFL, where the games are really only 3 days out of the week, and really only 2 of those games are those island games, the Thursdays and the Mondays. The bulk of the game's on Sunday, but the line is out on Monday. So, I mean, a 4 on Monday could be a 6 on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be transparent. I'm just saying, like, on the show, I'm going to use the Circa grading line at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, and that's the line. So.
Well, we've got game 1, and it's the Lions at the Chiefs. This is not the easiest game in the board because we don't know if Kelsey's playing, and apparently the books believe he's a 3-point player. 2 to 3 point player, a non-quarterback. that's a 2 to 3 point player. That is big. I mean, that's like, that's about as that's like I don't even know, bigger than some quarterbacks is my guess. I don't know if he's that big of a number in my book, though. Al, what are you thinking on this one? Thursday night, under the lights, Kansas City, banner raising, ring, and the hoopla.
I mean, one certainly can make a good argument for Kansas City. They've won 8 straight season openers, going 6-2 ATS, including 5-0 straight up and 4-1 ATS with Mahomes at quarterback. Meanwhile, the Lions 0-4-1 straight up in their last 5 season openers with a 2-3 ATS record. Defending Super Bowl champions have gone 16-11 with 2 pushes ATS at home in week 1, including 10-5 with 2 pushes ATS on Thursday nights. So all of that says, maybe Kansas City, but I'm still a little leery of backing a Chiefs team. They're 8-15 ATS, their last 23 at home when not favored by 8 or more points. The Lions have been a covering machine under Dan Campbell, 23-10 with a push ATS, including 12-0 and 1 ATS if their opponent was not off a straight up loss, which technically, since they haven't played yet, is the case today. So I think this is a really, really, really difficult game. You mentioned the Kelsey situation, which doesn't make things easier. I'm definitely going to pass. I usually don't like to pass on those first Thursday games of the year. Usually they present pretty good betting opportunities. I don't think this one does. I'm going to pass on the premium side. I'm going to take the over 52.5. To be honest, it's bottom of the barrel for me. We make a pick on every game on this show, and that's going to be my pick.
All right. Well, you're putting that big record at stake right out of the gate. Jay, what do you think?
I'm going to agree with Al. I'm going to take the over 54 in this one as well.
Well, I'm taking a 52.5, but you can take it over 54.
Yeah, we'll give him the 52. We'll give him 52.5.
52.5. All right, I'm going to take the over 52.5. I think it gets over 54 as well. I see some scoring here in this football game. I do. The Lions offense, we really saw them start to click as the season progressed last year. Jared Goff was hitting his receivers, guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love the addition of Jamar Gibbs in this lineup. They have one of the best offensive line in football. The Chiefs will be 9 times out of 10 without their star defensive player, Chris Jones. I think the Lions will be able to move the football. We saw the Lions, a high-scoring team last year. I think coming into this year, they will be able to move the football on Kansas City. And on the other side, I have some questions about that Lions defense. Even without Travis Kelce, I have no problem expecting Mahomes and crew to score points. This is Andy Reid, the best play caller, or one of the best play callers in the NFL, with the best quarterback in the league. And I'm pretty sure these guys can dial up some plays like they usually do. I think we're in for a great high-scoring affair early in this game. I would probably lean towards the Lions getting the points, but I think the best place to be in this game is probably the over.
Yeah, once again, like the other guys, I'm not even sure I'll have a premium play one way or the other on this thing, a side total or anything at all. But I kind of was going to go with the over with these guys. I definitely agree with them on the total side that it is an over. But I think, when you break it down to just the barest bones of the game, I think Chris Jones is going to play. And I think, I don't know about Kelce, but I think Chris Jones is going to play because they're already saying, here's the headline. Chris Jones, I just want to raise. I could play Thursday night. That means he's playing. I think Bosa is going to play this week. I think Jones is going to play. It's amazing over the years we've seen these guys sit out preseason. Time and time again. We see healthy guys sit out preseason, and all of a sudden they just come in and they just play, and that's why they're the stars. I think what we see though in this game is, Jared Goff had a great season last year and really his career year so far. In the Rams, I thought he was a disappointment, and I don't even know if he's a disappointment because I never really thought that he was, that much to begin with when they drafted him first overall. At Cal, he was 6-0 his first 6 games, and then when they got into conference play, they were 0-6, right, the last 6 of the year. So really nothing special in my book, but last year was the year where he kind of came out of the shell. So are we going to see what we've seen as par for the course for Jared Goff, or are we going to see the Jared Goff we saw last year? I think, like Jay said, I like St. Brown. I like a lot of the weapons. In fact, the fact that the fact that they traded, oh boy, the running back, Jay.
Swift, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, the fact they traded DeAndre Swift just lets you believe how much faith they have in this backfield. You know, what they have when you let him go, right, to the Eagles of all teams. Like, they needed the help. To me, it's still, I would feel really bad personally, and I would be kicking myself in the head if I didn't bet on Patrick Mahomes and I bet on Jared Goff instead. I just think, like, you know, the truest form of it, I just think, you know, either I have a chance to make money on Patrick Mahomes or make money on Jared Goff. I understand there's points involved. Maybe even bet the money line at minus 205 because I think the Chiefs are a stone cold lock to outright win the game. You know, will it come down to a last-second field goal in the Mahomes last 2 seconds of the game? Like, you know, I mean, what did he do? 70 yards in 8 seconds or something? 4 plays? Something ridiculous. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to take the Chiefs here. To me, it's like I see Patrick Mahomes, I see Jared Goff, I see opening night at Arrowhead Stadium, and to me, Goff he's got to prove it to me one more time. And maybe I'm asking too much, you know, or saying. You could say he's already proved it, but not to me. I saw that Super Bowl against the Patriots. Left a mark. We've got the Falcons against the Panthers. Jay, this one is these were your guys last year. You called them the best bad team out there. They went out and covered like the first 8 games. Then I think they did not cover the whole rest of the way, but Kyle Pitts had missed that. It's kind of like, you know, the Rangers when Eovaldi went out, they lost all their games except for last night when he was back. And then like Pitts, when he was in there with the Falcons, they were winning, you know. And then he left, and it really did work out like that. And I'm not saying Pitts was the whole team, but I'm just saying when he was playing, they were winning. When he was out and they're winning or covering, and when he was out, they weren't. He's back. They got Bijan Robinson in from Texas. Definitely, this guy is a home run hitter. You know, it's like, I love home run hitters in baseball. I mean, in football. Love them. You know, guys that one play, it just looks like a mundane running play, touchdown, right? Changes the game. Chick-fil-A will be closed, Jay. I know that's, you're beside yourself on that. It just doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't. How they have a Chick-fil-A in Mercedes-Benz, but it's I'll diverge. But yes, the Falcons, man, they were my best worst team in football last year. We made a lot of money early in the season betting the Falcons. I just thought they were tremendously undervalued. Had a veteran quarterback in Marcus Mariota, and smart head coach in Arthur Smith and the crew. My thought process coming into this year is, I think they're pretty much kind of like last year, but I think they're overvalued this year with the addition of Bijan Robinson. And I'm going to grab the points here week 1 with the Carolina Panthers. I think Carolina has a legitimate shot to win this game outright. We got to remember this is a divisional football game. These two teams are very comfortable with each other. Carolina will be starting a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young. Atlanta does have the more experienced quarterback in Desmond Ridder in his second year, but he didn't start getting the second job until the end of last year, so he's kind of fresh too. I don't think Atlanta's 3.5 points better than Carolina. I think if this game was in Carolina, it would probably be Carolina -3. I think these two teams are very similar. I think all the value here is on Carolina. I think that they do dial some stuff up. We didn't see much from this team in the preseason. They kind of dumbed down their offense. I expect to see it in full force here week 1 on the road. And I think getting the hook over 3.5 is probably a solid place to be with Carolina.
Normally when I see a game like this and I see the hook in there or whatever, and I say, well, I feel I need to buy the hook here. I normally just say, instead of buying the hook and losing my value, I'll just play the other side. But I don't see that here so much, and I think that maybe this is a spot where I will buy the hook with the Falcons because, like, you could say, well, Ridder only played a few games last year, and that's, you know, all fine and well, and that's the truth, right? He only played, you know, at the end of the season. Mariota was the starter, and then he took over as the starter. He wasn't that great, you know, what we saw of him. But he did have a full year with the club, and that counts for something. Practicing with the team, learning the team, working with the different players on the team, practicing with the different players on the team, all those sort of things. While Bryce Young, I mean, he's got much less than he had to work with at Alabama. I mean, much less as far as, and also the domination position by position over the average competition. Because when Bryce Young played against the better teams, it wasn't necessarily, you can give him a Heisman Trophy or not give him a Heisman Trophy. He didn't beat Georgia, and I think the Falcons might be a little bit tougher than that. I don't like the idea of the half. I'm with you on that one. So I'm just going to buy the hook with the Falcons, lay the 3 in this thing. Probably regret it that I had to lay the extra juice here on it. Had to pay for nothing. But it's like an umbrella, right? You don't need it until you need it. It is a key number. It's opening day. It's a divisional battle. But I think the Falcons win this one by 10 plus.
I will say, I think I did see something that said number 1 overall pick quarterbacks in their first game historically are terrible.
Yeah, well, Peyton Manning, his first snap went right through his legs. Bernie Kosar, same thing. First snap went right through his legs. It happens,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, most of the guys, it's rare when you see a rookie quarterback come out of the gate. Back in the day, and I'll date myself, but back in the day, rookie quarterbacks never started. They always sat. It didn't matter who you were or where you're from. Dan Marino sat. Brett Favre sat. Everyone sat. This rookie, starting your rookie, only started with free agency and the free agency rules that you only got 3 or 4 years with this guy. So you have a chance to make a big investment in him. You got to see what you got. And that's the whole reason they start the rookies. Guys like, the Packers, they continue to work them on the bench. I think we're going to see, we'll talk about it later, but I think we'll see a Jordan Love that looks like a veteran quarterback. But anyways, Al, what do you think of this one?
Well, I think both of these, NFC South division teams, they went 7-10 straight up, and they covered 9 of their 17 games last year. But as you mentioned, Mitch, they got there in very different ways. Atlanta started strong, covered the point spread in its first 6, then went 4-7 straight up and 3-7 and 1 ATS down the stretch. Carolina started 1-5 straight up and against the spread, but then finished 6-5 straight up and 8-3 ATS. I think it's a tough matchup from the side standpoint. I'm going to look at the total. It's a series which generally has been low scoring. It's gotten under the total, 34-18 with 3 pushes. The last 55 meetings, it's sitting at 39.5, and I'm going to take the under in this game.
Division game, week 1, 2 young quarterbacks. First year head coach for one. I could see it. I could see it.
I could see it. I could see a sloppy game.
Yep.
I could also see Bijan breaking off some big runs and people.
Yeah, he was my number 1 pick in fantasy. So
I would say I could see him ripping off 2 or 3 big runs and people going crazy.
I got to remind folks that these Carolina Falcon games can get crazy. My worst loss last year was in this very game. Carolina.
I had Carolina.
Was that the 20? Was it 20-17 or whatever?
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah.
Oh man,
that game was insane.
Well, we go to Baltimore where the Ravens have a quarterback under contract for the first time in quite some time. Lamar Jackson got his money. He didn't get all the money that he wanted. I mean, he wanted more money than God, but he didn't get that much. But he did get a good deal. That's for sure. I don't think he's complaining too much. I guess the idea is you just ask for the world, and whatever you get is going to be pretty good. But the Ravens, it's not just him. I mean, they're stacked. He got Odell Beckham Jr., Zay Flowers, is back. Mark Andrews, Dobbins was back last year, but now he's at full strength. The defense is still the defense. Pierce in the middle, and Roquan Smith, and Patrick Queen, and of course that secondary, Humphrey and Williams, and I think they might have the best secondary in all of the NFL. They might have the best defense all the way around with Roquan Smith in there. And I just think that against a rookie quarterback, the Ravens, they love to beat up on the bad teams, man. They just love to do it. So while we love D'Amico, we wish him the best. We think that he's going to be a great head coach. I think this one might be a learning experience for him and his rookie QB because I've said this a million times about Stroud. He had better receivers at Ohio State than he has here in Houston, and he has made arguably a better team overall. Houston, I mean, obviously, I think the worst NFL team could be the best college team. I really do believe that that's the case. But I also think that the wide receivers that he had at Ohio State were all NFL ready first round draft choice wide receivers. And I don't think he has as good of a unit here, you know. And the Ravens, they just love to beat up on the bad teams. And they just love to do it. That's what they've always done. And I double digit home favorite here on. I mean, what are you gonna do? I got nowhere else to go. I'm gonna take the Ravens. Al, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good example of like the different styles, among us. Mitch, all the players like the back of your hand. I don't. I know technicals and numbers and everything like that. So there's no way I would ever, 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 ever lay 9 or more points in a week 1 game. I wouldn't care if it's the defending Super Bowl champ against, the Arizona Cardinals or whatever. Big chalk has been horrible in week 1 games. NFL teams favored by 9 or more points or a wallet breaking 17-36 ATS. We talked about D'Amico Ryans a lot last year. We were saying he was going to be the guy to, the best assistant to get a head coaching job. I'm not going against him in his debut. I'm going to take Houston plus the 10.
I've been going back and forth on this game. It's a tough one. But I ended up on the Texans as well. I think they compete. And I don't want to lay the chalk in week 1 either. I understand Lamar Jackson is poised to have a bounce back breakout season. I love the addition of Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr., but I still think this is a running football team, and I still think that defensively the D'Amico Ryans might deal some things up here, and that this Ravens offense might have some hiccups. All it's going to take early is an early Texans score, and then we're right where we need to be. I understand that this is arguably probably the 31st worst team in the league in the Texans, with the Cardinals, probably being the worst. But giving me 10 points, like Big Al said, week 1, that's a lot of chalk to lay. Could the Ravens come out here and win by 14? Of course. 13.
They could win by 27. I mean, come on.
Of course. But I don't know. I think 10 points in a football game is a lot, especially NFL. So I like the weapons for the Texans as well. Tank Dell. They got Dalton Schultz down there. Stroud does have a pretty good weapons down there. If they can just click on any cylinder, I think they can cover this point spread. So give me the Texans plus the 10.
Well, week one rookie quarterbacks generally just get absolutely shellacked on the road in week 1. So maybe Al's numbers of the team on the road with the big number,
right?
Maybe the 17 were Matt Ryan's, Matthew Stafford, Cam Newton, RG.
Well, I also think the fact that it's a rookie quarterback plays into why it is 10 points too. I mean,
of course. Carson Wentz beat the Browns 29-10. The last Texans rookie quarterback to start on opening day. Oh man. It was Deshaun Watson losing 29-7 at Jacksonville. Nothing pretty about that. Well, it's 2 against 1. We'll be going forward on the tape. We'll have our season record in the front, so it'll be season record with our records. So there. We got the Browns versus the Bengals. This one's you, Al. Bengals came within a penalty making the Super Bowl for back-to-backers. The Browns, well, Nick Chubb anytime touchdown. What do you like?
Division home dogs, in the month of September, hard to go against them. 51-29 ATS their last 80. The underdog in this Buckeye State rivalry has gone 20-11 and 1 ATS the last 32 meetings, 6-1 ATS the last 7. It does look like Burrow is going to play. I'm still going to fade the Bengals. I'm going to grab the points with Cleveland. Right now, the number's at 2.5. It's been bouncing. I saw it as low as 1.5 earlier. Then it came back up to 2.5. Who knows where it's going to be on game day. But I'll take the 2.5 with the home dog.
Jay.
I got my Bengals hat on. I made a ton of money betting the Bengals last year. I think they were crazy ATS. But they had some hiccups to begin the football season last year. I remember
Against Pittsburgh.
I was mad week 1 when McPherson missed the field goal against Pittsburgh. Joe Burrow was sacked a ton last year early. Was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league, and I don't think that sets up well with Myles Garrett on the other side early in this season. And the Browns, I think they're poised to have a better season. I think Deshaun Watson, now a year removed from all the controversy, really another year in this system. A nice wide receiver crew, Nick Chubb behind them, of course. I think we see them compete here week 1. I think the 2.5 is where I'm going to be as well with Cleveland. Remember Cincinnati, we saw them struggle early last year. They came to Dallas, lost to my Cowboys early last year without our starting quarterback. They got it together as the season progressed. I do think that at the end of the season, the Bengals are going to be right there. And I have them going to the Super Bowl. I have the Bengals in my Super Bowl this year. But week 1, division rival, out on the road, I think it's a tough spot, man. I think Cleveland wins this football game.
I'm all over the Bengals on this one. I'm once again going to ride solo here. Less than a field goal. I think this is the Bengals game. The Bengals reeled off, I think, at the end of the year about 10 covers in a row or something. So they ended really, really hot. I think also they lost in that championship game. They were right there. I mean, if he doesn't hit him out of bounds, we're looking at overtime, the same place where they beat the Chiefs the year before. I mean, and they had already beat the Chiefs, right, in the regular season, so they weren't about to back down from them there. And I think when we look at the Bengals and what happens to winning teams is that generally you look at the roster and it doesn't look anything like the same team the next year. But when you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, it's like, oh, man, that is bad news against a bad team like the Browns. And Deshaun Watson looked like a shell of the guy that was a first-round pick and won the national championship at Clemson. He looked absolutely god-awful. He looked like a bad Baker Mayfield. He was just terrible. I think Chubb can run the football, but I think DJ Reader in the middle of that Bengals defensive line creates some problems for him as well. And I think, when they know that Deshaun Watson is struggling out there, you got, your best wide receiver, your highest paid guy, Amari Cooper, can't catch footballs. So that's another problem too, especially going into that Bengals secondary. I think when you look at it, like Al said, from a pure number standpoint, yeah, the home dog plus 2.5 makes a lot of sense, especially in today's day and age, where we get more odd scores than ever before, like because of the 2-point conversions and these weird strategies. To me, it's like, especially the young coaches, but neither of these guys do those weird things that the Dolphins do or the Eagles do or the Chargers do, like these weird coaching decisions. These guys play it pretty much by the book and by the book that I know. And I think, this game is probably at least a 3-point game with McPherson kicking the game winner at the end, if not more. I could see Jamar Chase opening with 4 touchdowns on these guys, just absolutely lighting them up. The Browns suck, and until they show me otherwise, I'm going to take the team that's gone to the AFC Championship the last 2 years and went to the Super Bowl one of those years and came within. Their seasons ended on penalties the last 2 years. It's like they should have 2 Super Bowls. They're that good, and they have all the same guys. The Browns suck, man. Terrible. Outside of that, just a great bunch of guys. Speaking of great bunch of guys, let's go to Indy. That Colts up against the Jaguars, my wife's favorite team.
Yeah, speaking of sucky teams, the Colts.
That Colts, that freaking coach. I just knew we weren't going to win. It's going to be the worst beat I ever had. It's, Colts and the Jaguars. Man, the Jags surprised a lot of people last year. Not Jay Briggs. He was on that Jags bandwagon from day one. Even when they were losing games, I was anti Doug Peterson after crushing me when he was in Philly. All this with really suspect coaching decisions. But last year he played with purpose, and they just kind of he had his team buying into it, and then he made all the right moves. Al already referenced that big comeback that we had last year in this game, and the Colts. Well, they were on the other end of the worst comeback in history, and they could be on the wrong end of maybe one of the worst draft choices in the history of the NFL. Jay, what do you think?
Taking the home division dog in the Colts. I think they compete here. I think that Anthony Richardson is not as bad as you think. Will he have some hiccups early in his career? I think so. Are the Jags the better football team? Definitely. Um, are the Jags going to win this division? I think so. And do the Jags win this game? Yeah. But in my mind, I think this game falls 24-20 with Jags winning, Colts covering. That's what I have this game at. I think that I think that the Jags offense is much improved with Calvin Ridley. I think Calvin Ridley is going to establish himself as one of the best receivers in the league. I think Trevor Lawrence is poised for another big season. And I think the Jags are going to be a legitimate team to take serious in the AFC. But I just don't think that we know what's going to hit them with the Colts. We're not sure what we're expecting with Anthony Richardson. And when you're in those situations, you're usually in a good situation. I think he could come out here and have a really good game week one. I don't think of this Jags team as having a vicious defense. I think this will be a spot where he has a decent game. He has some decent weapons around him. I think they run the football and become effective. And like I said, I think the Jags win it, but I think the Colts cover 24-20 is how I got this one. Give me the Colts plus the 5.
Kerwin Bell, Doug Johnson, Rex Grossman, Jesse Palmer, Tim Tebow, John Reeves, Shane Matthews, Danny Werfel, Steve Spurrier, and Anthony Richardson. This is what Florida quarterbacks are in the NFL. Not a winner in the bunch. They absolutely stink, and this guy could be the worst of them. Several of those guys I mentioned were Heisman winners. This guy was not anywhere near the Heisman. This guy throws the ball to the wrong team. He is colorblind. Just like Trey Lance was picked, they moved up, and everyone was all amazed by his thing. And I sat here and bashed him, and everyone took him to beat the Bears last year in game one, and he ate a lot of turf at Soldier in my 73 minutes of excitement that I got. I got to tell you, man, Anthony Richardson is another one in my book that we are just going to be cash betting against this guy because he absolutely stinks. He is just, it's fine that he has all the athletic ability in the world, which is a great thing to have, which I don't have, right? I don't have it. But this guy does, but I'm also not an NFL QB. In the NFL, everybody has athletic ability. So having that, this great athletic ability is nothing unusual in the NFL. Trust me, those Ravens defensive backs we just mentioned, those guys have sick athletic ability. I mean, that Humphrey, oh my God.
Out of the NFL right now, Nick Bosa has agreed to a 5-year, $170 million.
And Chris Jones has agreed to whatever. Yeah, it's like, right? I mean, we know this is going to happen. So, yeah, not surprised one bit. But I do believe that, we have a serious problem here with this Colts team, and that it's going to be a very, very tough process with a first-year QB and a first-year head coach. I understand it's their home opener, so this is probably their best shot to do anything. But Trevor Lawrence, we saw him at Clemson, and out of the gate, he was really not so great. And, he's been off and on, I'd say, at Jacksonville. I think the expectations are a little bit higher, but he's way, way better, and I think he's only getting better. And we started to see that, in that comeback last year. In some of these other games, the chemistry that he has with Kirk is kind of off the chart, and some of these other guys, it's only going to help everybody else get better. I like the Jags in this one by double digits.
Well, I'm going to join Jay. Although I do think, I think Calvin Ridley is going to have a tremendous year. He was another guy I got on my fantasy team. But this is a home team dominated series. The home team has gone 11-0 straight up the last 11, 16-1 straight up the last 17. And it has not mattered if the home team was a favorite or even a big underdog. When favorite, the home team's gone 11-0 straight up and 6-4 and 1 ATS. But even when an underdog, as the Colts are here, The home team has gone 5-1 straight up and ATS, including outright wins as a 14-point dog, a 7-point dog, a 5.5-point dog, a 4-point dog, and a 3-point dog. So I'm going to hold my nose. I'm going to take the Colts plus the 5. I'm not going to go against those numbers.
You're going to really, really struggle and hate that pick out because Anthony Richardson completes 44.8% of his passes, and that does not get it done with the varsity. I'll tell you that much.
I know. But I mean,
he can run, he can do all those things, but he completes 44.8% of his passes, and a lot of those are to the other team. So,
well, we saw the Jags throw a lot of turnovers in the first half versus the Chargers. So
it's kind of like back when we used to be able to bet on Tim Lincecum at minus 115. It's like this line's going to come and go, and you're not going to believe that you only had to lay 5 against the Colts at one point.
Right.
It's like that. This could be that one. Anthony Richardson's my guy this year. So it's like if he comes back and he beats me and all those other things, I'll be the first to admit it. But right now, he's got a lot to prove. He's got a lot to prove. Well, got some guys that don't have as much to prove are the Buccaneers, who have been there and done that, and Tom Brady is gone. But man, you look at this roster, you could recognize all these names on that are left. On the other side, the Vikings, they won a lot of close games early, and then they got blown out by Dallas and were never the same. Jay, what do you think of this one?
Big Kirko woke up dripping like this. Have you seen the NFL script commercial?
No.
Oh,
I don't watch TV except for the games.
So the NFL released a series of commercials. Like last year, the running joke was that there's a script in the NFL. That they're following. So they made a play on that, and it's been running as a commercial. And in the commercial, Kirk Cousins, he has his no shirt on with the chains. I have fallen in love with Kirk Cousins over the offseason, man, due to quarterback, I think his personality is pretty cool. I think that the Vikings were a winning football team last year. I think they're poised to have another solid season. I got them winning their division pretty easily. And I think that they smash Tampa Bay here week 1. I think that the Vikings are going to look pretty good here. I'm not a believer in this Bucs team. Baker Mayfield, we know what he is. He's decent, but he's a bottom tier quarterback in the league at this point. This is a team that had Tom Brady at the helms last year. Didn't really matter. Wasn't all that good. I think their offensive line is suspect. I think defensively they're going to struggle. And I think this is a team that's probably going to be one of the worst in football, probably the worst in their division as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Justin Jefferson with 2 touchdowns early in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Minnesota clicking on all cylinders, and I think they win this game fairly comfortably at home. This Minnesota crowd is always going to be going crazy. Mattinson will be just fine taking over the running back duties from Dalvin Cook, and I think Minnesota's going to be kind of just like last year, a really good team that wins a lot of football games, but is just not able to get over the hump when it's all said and done. But I'm going to lay the points here as I think they beat up on Tampa at home.
I think this is going to be a really, really close game. I think that this Tampa Bay defense is really, really good, and it's a lot of these same names. I always think that for me, is in my pure NFL fandom and all that other stuff, I just think that in any football team, it's almost like in baseball. You got to start right up the middle. It's like you go right down the middle, and then you start there, and then everything else kind of fills itself out. And it all starts on defense, of course. And I think with Vita Vea in the middle of that defensive line, he kind of does that for the Bucs, and he's a guy that can dominate the defensive line, and that allows your linebackers to kind of run free a little bit. And they've got some good ones, some guys with some Super Bowl rings, that were not like just carried there by Tom Brady. Tom Brady won the Super Bowl in Tampa. He carried the team in New England. I don't think he carried that Tampa Bay team all that much, to be honest with you. In fact, I think there was a lot of times they carried him. And I think that the Bucs
led the league in passing attempts at whatever age he was, led the league in passing yards, had full control of the offense. They fired their head coach because they wanted him to run things in Bruce Arians. Now Todd Bowles is in there. I think Tampa is in a terrible spot, and I think Minnesota blows these boys off the field. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yep, I like the Bucs a lot here, at least with the points. I think they at least cover. the Vikings play in a lot of tight games, and Kirk Cousins was really cool on quarterback, and I liked him too in the thing. And I think seeing that personable side of Kirk Cousins, and the way he can kind of make fun of who he is and be comfortable with that, it's all cool and all well. But the bottom line is this guy is not a big game winning quarterback, and he never has been. I think this is a guy that
This is noon against the Bucks at home. It's far from a big game. This is
opening day. It's opening day in the NFL, and I just think that what we see here from this Bucks team is that they're going to show up, and I think the world is going to be on the Vikings because of that quarterback show. I think all Johnny Q public is going to be all over.
Money right now is on Tampa. I know you don't believe in that, but when early looks, it looks like majority of the money is on Tampa plus.
Well, depending on what you're looking at,
that many
if you're looking at Action Network, that comes from two offshore sports books.
That's not where I was
very small offshore sports books. I don't believe in it.
I mean, at Don Best, it's 59% on Minnesota, but
Yeah.
I'm with Mitch.
Yeah,
I don't
they're all over
care
the place.
about. I don't look at those things because I think it's just a bunch of noise.
But I do believe the small bettors are definitely all over the same thing with Kirk Cousins on quarterback. It was tough not to like the guy and to talk about his Coles shirt and all that other stuff, and hit the way his wife dresses him and all the funny things. He's just some Minnesota guy that sits around the fire pit in the backyard. I think all that stuff is great and a lot of fun, but
he does nothing but breathe football. While the other guy, Baker Mayfield, who knows?
But it's there. But look at the defense: Vita Vea, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, Antoine Winfield, Carlton Davis. These guys are all guys that have won the Super Bowl.
All guys who last time we seen them got shredded by the Dallas Cowboys, who many people don't think's offense was all that good. I'm not high on Tampa at all, but I'll divert.
Well, that's okay. That's fine, man. I'm on the Bucks in this one. All we need to do, I mean, you took the Colts +5. I think I would take the Bucks to slaughter the Colts, and I think getting 6 with them
every day of the week. Colts money line now every day of the week.
All right. Well, I'm on the Bucks in this one. Al, who do you like?
We got fights up.
The Vikings, they went 0-3 in the preseason. I know they're just exhibition games, but I'd like to see a team win at least one game, especially if I'm being asked to lay 6 points in a week 1 game. And teams that have gone winless in the preseason, they have not been doing well in week 1. They've gone 8-24 ATS with a push, including 4th and 13 ATS as a favorite. And speaking of 4 and 13 ATS, that's also Minnesota's record when laying 4 or more points. So I've got no confidence in the Vikings as a 6-point favorite. I'm going to grab the points.
Fair enough. I'll be on the island with Big Kirko and Justin Jefferson, the best receiver.
Hey,
not a bad island.
Someone's got to pay our tickets, man. Someone's got to pay our tickets. That's how it works. We got the Saints taking on the Titans. It's a new day in New Orleans. David Carr takes over at QB. One of the things, like sometimes you see these guys move teams and stuff, and you say, you know what, this guy probably really fits there. It probably is a much better fit than where he was in Vegas. And the Titans, I'm not really sure what they're doing because they have no quarterback, but they got a coach that really kind of knows how to navigate his way around. And that hook in this game is actually super attractive to me. While it was something in the Falcons game that I was willing to buy the hook with the favorite. In this one, oh man, because Vrabel, this is what he does, is he turns it into this ugly, murky mess. And it's like he's got this running back that's, 6'7" or something, 300 pounds, and runs like a 4.1 40. And he's like, he just slams him into the line and slams him into the line, just hoping something's going to crack. That's what's going to happen here. I think getting 3.5 points with the Titans is just too many to pass on. I think the Saints have a good chance to win this game. If the Titans won outright, I wouldn't be shocked either. I think this game is a coin flip any day of the week, and I think getting that hook makes it more attractive to me. Al?
Well, this is going to be, the official line on this game, I see 3 across the board everywhere. It's, 3.5 at Sports 411, but everywhere else I see it -3. So
this line could have moved in the last couple hours.
I see it right now just 3 across the board anyway.
Yep, I'm seeing threes, and I'm seeing that I'm seeing the three at plus 100, so and
It's
plus
three minus
105.
15 cents. Yeah. But
Yeah, I'm seeing it a
so,
little less. So I did. You're right. I only see it 3.5 now at Parks, and that's at minus 124.
yeah. So, and it's important for this game, I think, because for me anyway, the side I'm picking depends on the line. If it's 3.5, I'm going to look at the dog. If it's three, I'm looking at New Orleans. I think it's that razor thin
Yeah,
with
I'm
this
I'm with
matchup.
you. I'm the same way. I was
I'm in
looking at
the
three and a
same
half.
boat. I was going to
Yeah,
say the same thing.
yeah. So I mean, the favorite has gone 8-4-1 ATS in this series. The Titans 11-20 ATS in non-division games when not getting 3.5 points. New Orleans 48-31 ATS when not laying more than 3 points. Because the line is sitting exactly at three, I'm going to lay the 3 points with the Saints, but I would not be laying 3.5.
I'm going. You know what? Actually, I'm going to take the Titans regardless at plus the 3 or the 3.5. This I just learned my lesson last year. Like this is right in the Titans' wheelhouse. This is just what they do. They're gonna muck the game up. They're gonna run the football. They're gonna chew clock, and you're gonna look up at the scoreboard in the fourth quarter. You're gonna be on the edge of your seat because this game's gonna be right on the number, and we're all going to be sweating this football game. But I think in the end, I'm going to say this game falls like 24-23 New Orleans. I think is how it falls. I think New Orleans probably walks it off on a game-winning field goal. The Titans still get the cover. Um, I like the additions of Derek Carr to the New Orleans Saints. I think he does fit New Orleans, kind of like Mitch was saying. I think that this is probably the best running back group in the National Football League in New Orleans, and I think the addition of Michael Thomas will be huge for New Orleans. Olave in his second year, I think New Orleans is going to be on the up and up. I think their defense is really solid, but again, Vrabel always has this team ready to play. Defensively, they're usually stout. Tannehill, he's not my favorite. He's a middle of the pack quarterback, but he usually doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He knows what he is. He gets the ball to where it needs to be. He hands it off, and they usually don't shoot themselves in the foot. And if they play that football, I think the Saints probably win it, but it's going to be a close game, and I'd rather have those points in my back pocket.
Go to Pittsburgh. Steelers, 2-point dogs. This one's kind of been a lot of movement in this game. I don't know. I didn't see if anything happened with the Boza signing. I saw it going kind of the other way and wishy-washy. Still seeing twos at most places. I see 2.5 offshore and 2.5. This is probably a stale line at Westgate, possibly, because I'm seeing 1.5 at PointsBet in Jersey as well. But it's mostly twos. Actually see some other 2.5s now as well.
Yeah,
FanDuel.
it's split between mainly twos to 2.5s. It was 1.5 earlier. That those are largely gone. Um, but yeah, two seems to be the majority number anyway.
Well, this is your game, Al.
I was talking about how bad the Vikings were in the preseason. The Steelers actually had the best preseason record. They were 3-0, and they outscored their opponents by a whopping 46 points. Meanwhile, the 49ers were 1-2 and had the third worst point differential at minus 37. And yeah, I mean, I know preseason's meaningless, but I'm just a tad leery of laying points on the road in a season opener with a team which lost their defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, as well as other assistant coaches that he took with him, to the Houston Texans. That being said, I do like the pieces that San Francisco has. I mean, Brock Purdy's great, really processes information really well, makes good reads, quick decisions, plays with great confidence. So I think San Francisco has a chance to, win the Super Bowl this year. But I just think it's a tough game for a season opener. We know what Tomlin does. They've never had a losing year under him. So I don't know. The 49ers had a really good team last year. What did they do in their season opener? They lost outright, as a 7-point favorite to the Chicago Bears. So I got to grab the points with Pittsburgh. It's just You see what they did last year in their season opener. We mentioned the McPherson missed field goal or whatever, that maybe they got lucky to win, but they still win and beat one of the best.
I think he froze up. Jay, you want to go?
Yep. I'm all over Pittsburgh in this one. I'm all over them every day of the week. I think that this is a gift. I think that the Niners have a lot of struggles going on with, they had to ship Trey Lance out of town. Brock Purdy will probably be the starter. But like I said, probably. Do we know what's up with Brock Purdy? Last time we seen Brock Purdy, he couldn't finish a playoff game. He was that hurt. He had surgery over the offseason. This is still a second-year quarterback. Yeah, he played his ass off down the stretch last year. He played his ass off, but I'm not sold on this guy coming back and just being Mr. Save the Day, especially week one. We saw them struggle early last year. This is right in Pittsburgh's wheelhouse. Now, a guy that I have on watch to take the biggest step forward of anybody in year two, Kenny Pickett. I've been high on this guy since the beginning of last year, if y'all remember. I've always loved me some little Pickett, some Kenny Pickett. I think that the Steelers are going to be what they are every season, a right there viable team. Many people think they're going to be last in this division. I think they have a legitimate shot to win it outright. I think Tomlin is going to have that same strict, tough defense. TJ Watt, back healthy, coming off the edge was going to be a problem. I think this offense takes a step forward. Najee Harris and the crew with George Pickens on the outside. I think that San Francisco is going to feel some problems of not having DeMeco Ryans as their defensive coordinator anymore. And I think that the Niners at -2, and I do think with the signing of Bosa, its line is probably going to go to 3 by kickoff. I think grabbing the points with the Steelers is a great, great place to be.
I'm taking the Steelers here. I'm thinking money line, if not laying alternate line the other way. I don't know. I'm not sold on Brock Purdy 100%. Once again, guy that came in last year, had a lot of success. Doesn't mean that he's going to follow that up with a lot of success. I've seen this happen a million times. But I'm less convinced than him than I am in, that Pickett's going to be the better quarterback on the field in this one and probably have the better season overall. The 49ers have had some crap luck with quarterbacks, actually, in the last 10 years, and probably some of the worst evaluators of talent at the position that I can remember from a team that's a playoff team almost every single year. They just can't pick the right guy, and they can't get it right. So I don't know how you think that.
They got Purdy right.
Well, we'll see. We're going to find out. 1 year doesn't necessarily do it.
I don't know. He was pretty impressive when I watched him play.
I think he was pretty impressive. I think he had a lot of help, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with him this year. I mean, he does come from that Iowa State line of quarterback, so I'm sure he probably put up a couple bucks on each of those games to inspire him to play a little bit harder. The thing is that I just think that this game in Pittsburgh, tough building. I think the defenses are pretty much even. I'm not a big fan of Shanahan as the coach, to be honest. I think he's a little overrated in my book. I think we have a coaching mismatch here with Tomlin, and I think the Steelers have missed the playoffs for a while now. So it's like it is time for them to get back. I think winning the division is a pipe dream with the Bengals and the Ravens.
I agree. They're going to have no shot to pass Baltimore and Cincinnati.
I don't think so. I think this division beats up on each other, and they're all going to be right there in the end.
That's what they all say until that Jamar Chase starts running down the field, man. It's like it's just.
You got to remember they were missing TJ Watt for an extended period.
I mean, Baltimore was missing half the team last year.
They were missing Jamar Chase. The Bengals lost all those games at the beginning of the season last year. They were missing Jamar Chase the first part of the season as well. So I think we're willing to forgive certain things and not willing to forgive others. I think Slice, I think the Steelers are going to take a step forward. I think they have a legitimate chance to be a playoff team. The AFC is going to be tough to make the playoffs. I mean, most of these divisions are running 3 deep. So,
100%. That's the problem is the AFC is way too deep.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh would make the playoffs, I think, in the NFC. I just don't think they can in the AFC.
I mean, Dolphins, Jets, Bills, Patriots, right? I mean, look at that division. Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, right? I mean,
it's a lot of teams.
Broncos, right? Sean Payton's there. Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's like, I mean, there's just not that many spots in a lot of teams, and I think the Steelers. It's come down to them for the last game every single year that they've missed. That's standing out on the field and watching the scoreboard, right? And it's like I mean, how many times do we have to watch this? I do think they win this game, though. I'm not a fan of Brock Purdy, and also 49ers in the opener last year. Oh man, did we cash betting money line against them in Chicago? So I'm going to go with the Steelers on the money line.
yeah. I mean, the 49ers under Shanahan now 1-5 ATS in season openers.
Yeah, he's just a bad coach. Got
I don't think he's a bad coach, but he hasn't.
he's a
gotten
bad
anything.
person and a bad coach. We've got Commanders against the Cardinals. Jay's already called the Cardinals his worst team in the NFL this season. But the Commanders could, they're never really too far from the bottom, even when they're on top. It's like they never make it look pretty. You got two head coaches on the same team. That's never works out well, but we'll have to see what happens. I mean, the last time we saw it, well, we see two head coaches on the same team a bunch of times, but it could either be Mike Ditka and Buddy Ryan, or it could be, I don't know, man. It could be a real mess. Jay, you're up.
This is a really weird game. I do have the Cardinals as my worst team in the NFL, but I'm not laying 6 points with the Commanders either, with a young quarterback and
Well, the
Sam
line's
Howell.
7, so you're gonna have to lay 7.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm not laying 7 either. So what I'm gonna do is I think we see a low total, and we see a low total for a good reason. I'm going to take the under. And I think if most of the scoring will probably come from Washington, but I, again, don't feel comfortable laying the points there. The Commanders are the better football team. Sam Howell did look fairly decent last year towards the end of the season, especially he looked really good against my Cowboys as they beat us towards the end of the season. I do think this offense will be better this year with Eric Bieniemy over there calling the plays. I worry about their offensive line. I think that their run game is a little suspect, but I think that their outside receiving options are pretty good. Terry McLaurin and a few of the other guys. So, are the Commanders a better team? Yes. Do they necessarily light up the page offensively? No. Cardinals, the same thing. I'm not even sure who's going to be starting quarterback for the Cardinals this week. They have like 5 guys on the roster at quarterback. So, I'm not sold on Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, rookie head coach, installing his plan on the road week 1. I don't see them scoring a lot either. And if it is Joshua Dobbs, that is terrible. I don't see him lighting up this Commanders defense. I think this is a low-scoring football game. I'm taking the under 39.
I'm going to roll with the Commanders in this thing. I know it's probably not my best play of the day, and which means it'll probably be the one that wins. But I'll take them, and I just think, like Jay was saying, I think I agree with him on all those things about the Cardinals, and I don't agree so much about Joshua Dobbs. I think he's a guy that's been around the block, and I like him a lot better than I like a lot of the other backup quarterbacks, including Colt McCoy or anybody like that that's been there forever and has never done anything. I think Joshua Dobbs has shown some ability, and no matter where he's been, there's a reason he's been in the NFL this long, even though he doesn't get playing time. And well, they chose what's that guy that they took in Pittsburgh, the terrible guy from Oklahoma State. They keep him on the roster, and they got rid of Dobbs, but. I'm gonna roll with the Commanders here. I think that with Bieniemy and with Riviera, you got really the best defense, one of the best defense coordinators, and the best offensive coordinator on the same team.
They should start Chris's guy, the Cardinals, Mr. Toon.
He looked terrible in preseason.
I know. I'm just playing. Tough game. One of the worst games of the weekend, in my opinion.
It'll be one of the worst games for the whole season.
Well, that Colts Jags is going to be pretty ugly. Al, what do you think of this one?
I'm interested.
I talked about this last year, on our podcast, but I think we've got 40,000 new subscribers this year, so I might as well mention it again because a lot of people weren't around last year. But one of my pet peeves is this gambling myth you often hear propagated by the media talking heads, and that's this notion that NFL West Coast teams don't do well when playing on the road on the East Coast. But nothing could be further from the truth, at least from a point spread perspective, as teams from the West Coast They're 356 and 304 ATS with 16 pushes when playing in the Eastern time zone. Anyway, for folks listening to this podcast, just keep your ears open throughout the season and see how often someone on ESPN or on gambling Twitter, makes mention of this travel myth, and just know it's not true. People say things just because it sounds good, but they have no access to the data and they couldn't actually really care about the data. They just think it sounds good, so they say it. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox. This is a tough game. I'm going to take the Cardinals. It has nothing to do with the fact that the West Coast teams do well in the Eastern time zone. I just don't want to lay a touchdown with the Washington Commanders. They're the worst favorite in the NFL. They're 15 and 43 ATS when laying more than 5 points. I can't lay 7. I don't care how bad the Cardinals are. I'm going to take the points.
I thought you were going to say they're the worst team nickname in the NFL. Got
they are, but hopefully they change it next year and
to the Eskimos.
Anything. Commanders is horrible.
Got the Bears taking on the Packers. This game is has taken a different look to it. The Bears, no more Aaron Rodgers, who owned the Bears. Even used to tell him that I own you.
I own you.
Yep, but he's gone. So if he owns him in the Jets uniform, which the Jets don't own anybody. The thing is that the Packers, Jordan Love, sat on the sidelines and learned from Rodgers, and we have seen him at times, and he didn't look all that bad when we saw him in there. That's for sure. He didn't look bad at all. He was a first-round draft choice quarterback that's had a few years in the system to really learn it and learn from one of the best. And you got to expect that he's going to be all these rookie quarterbacks that they're talking about. This actually guy might be of the first-year starters, might be the best of the bunch. There's a reason the Packers took him when they had Aaron Rodgers on the team. There's a lot of good things here flowing for the Packers. At the same time, it's the Bears on opening day in Chicago. I took them last year on the money line when everybody, I think on our live show, when we were going panel sized, took the 49ers. I took the Bears in that one in my 60 minutes of my 73 minutes of absolute utter bliss, the life and times of Trey Lance. I don't know. I like what the Bears are doing. I know that Jay really hates the defense, but I don't care. I kind of really like the defense, and I think that I think they made some good moves. You make some tough decisions. Roquan Smith was a great player, but it's like he wanted more than like everybody else combined. And I think getting Tremaine Edmonds in here from Buffalo is a great move. In the middle of the defense, shores it up. The line was never a problem in Chicago. Eddie Jackson's ball hawk in the back there. And then Justin Fields. Tough to tackle, tough to bring down, creates a lot of problems with his feet. I think he only needs to be a drop better with his arm than he was. Just a little bit. Really not much more than a little bit. Who will forget that backdoor cover against Philly? Al, what do you think? I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned, Aaron Rodgers owning Chicago. I never wanted to take Chicago and go against Aaron Rodgers just because of how well he played against that team. Since he took over from Brett Favre in 2008, Packers went 26-5 straight up and 24-7 ATS, including 8-0 straight up in ATS the last 4 years. But he's in the Meadowlands now. That's reason enough for me to, take Chicago. I just think they snapped the long losing streak. It's a heated rivalry. There's nothing Chicago. Well, obviously both teams are going to want to win, but I'm taking Chicago minus the 1 point.
I'm on the Bears too. This is one of my favorite plays of the weekend. It's probably not my favorite play, but it's one of my favorite. I'm all over the Bears here. We saw them look really good last year, week 1 against San Francisco. I think Justin Fields is poised for a huge season. I love the additions offensively they got for him. DJ Moore, on this offense, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool on the outside, still have a legitimate run game. I think the defense will be better. I think the Packers are poised for their worst season in recent memory. I think they're going to be last in this division. I think that Jordan Love is not the guy that many people think he is. I think we're going to see some struggles from him mightily. I think that Matt LaFleur and this coaching staff are in some big trouble without a Hall of Fame quarterback. We haven't seen LaFleur without a Hall of Famer at all. So I'm not sold on this head coach. or this young quarterback. And I think that the Bears actually are super stoked to finally see the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, and I think they get it done at home in Soldier.
Go to Denver, where Sean Payton, coaching debut for the Denver Broncos. Big expectations, way high expectations for this team. I got roasted on the Raiders last year on opening day. They played the Chargers. They played them pretty tough in LA, but came up short. That one, though, put it this way, it's a year later. I'm still talking about it. That's how bad of a market left, because I really thought they had that game. They certainly had, even as bad as they played, they still had chances and could not do it.
Did they miss the 2-point conversion at the end?
Yeah, they missed everything.
Like 24-19 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, they missed it for the cover. They were there. They had it, and they came back. They did everything. Adams caught that ball like this high off the turf. Remember that? I mean, it was unbelievable. But I don't know. I kind of think the Raiders are better this year, even though we have off-the-field turmoil, which is never good. But Chandler Jones and Max Crosby is a really good set of defensive ends, and they can really bring the pressure. I know that Jay is a big Russell Wilson fan, but I think when you have two good defensive ends that can play contain as well as rush the passer, well, a guy like Russell Wilson who scrambles, that kind of takes him out of his game because he loves to go sideline to sideline. I think he can tuck it and go straight up the middle too, but I don't think that that's a great spot for him or where they want him. I don't know. The Raiders have made a lot of misses in draft choices in recent years, but they still got a lot on this roster. I like Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams, Jimmy G, Josh Jacobs. I'm going to take the Raiders. I'm going to take the points. I'm not sold on the Broncos one bit. Out to.
I'm going to look at the total. Raiders have gone under the total 12 of the last 16 meetings versus Denver, as well as 65-40 under the total on the road in division games. Denver's now 57-31 under. I'm gonna look at a low scoring game here. I'm gonna take it under the total of 44.
I like that one as well. Jay,
I like that too, but I'm gonna grab the points here with the Raiders. I'm still on my fade Russell Wilson, the most overrated quarterback in the entire NFL. And I now am going to fade the most overrated coach in NFL history in Sean Payton. One Super Bowl. Now, this is what I'll say. Let me ask you guys this question quickly. What are your thoughts on Mike McCarthy?
I think he's just, I think he won a Super Bowl, so he's got the ring, just like, Peyton does and some of these other guys. But I think when push comes to shove, he's not the guy who's going to take every team to the promised land, and the players hate him, so it's usually a problem.
And that's I feel exactly the same thing about Sean Payton, word for word, and the records and everything about their head coaching career is pretty much equal. So I don't think that Sean Payton is this automatic whisperer like everybody thinks he is. I think that him and Russell Wilson have butt heads already with them being in Denver. I think it's a huge culture shock going from loosey-goosey last year to drill sergeant this year. And I think the Broncos are poised for another struggling season. I do. And I think the Raiders are probably going to be a little better than some people are thinking. I think Garoppolo, he's a gamer. He's just a game manager. He's nothing special. But he's a winner, especially in the regular season. I think McDaniels got his guy who he's been wanting since New England, and I think they probably look fairly good. And I wouldn't be surprised if they won this game fairly comfortably. The Raiders did. So I would probably look at a reverse, and I would probably look at taking them straight up here on the money line and grabbing the points.
All right, we move on to a game that I care about.
Me too.
Got the Dolphins taking on the Chargers, and this one got Tua, Justin Herbert, kind of, they'll forever be tied together going one after another in the draft. Herbert considered one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, top 5. Tua, not even in Jay's top 15, him and Wayne's list the other day. But meanwhile, when Tua plays, he's a way better passer than Justin Herbert. It ain't even close. Al, your game. I know about it.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, they're my futures pick this season at 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. I just expect a major leap forward for Brandon Staley's men. One of the reasons, I'm sure Jay will appreciate this, the hire of Kellen Moore as offensive coordinator. When he was with the Cowboys, he had 4 years with the Cowboys. Dallas's offense ranked among the top 4 in productivity in that 4-year stretch. And you throw Quentin Johnson from TCU into the mix, he now has a trio of wide receivers, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to throw to. You have Austin Eckler in the backfield. I just think the pieces are there for them to make a Super Bowl run. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Chargers because they've underwhelmed so often over, their history, right? I mean, whether it was Phillip Rivers or Dan Fouts or whatever, I mean, they've always failed in the playoffs. So they have this mystique of being just this, underachieving team. You've got Brandon Staley, who's become a punching bag, for all of us, with his coaching decisions. They blew the 27-0 lead in last year's playoff game to the Jaguars. So there's all this negativity surrounding this team, but they were injured a lot last year. A lot of their key pieces, missed a lot, and now they're healthy. I just think, and maybe you see, who knows what's going to happen with Travis Kelce. I mean, maybe this turns into a larger problem. I don't know. But maybe Kansas City, everything goes wrong for them this year, from a health standpoint after winning the Super Bowl last year. I just think things might break right for the Chargers. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I like them at 25-1. And I just think it all starts, this Sunday. And I just think they blow out Miami. I'm going to lay the points.
Whew, Big Al, man. I couldn't disagree with you anymore.
Good.
I think I don't even think this team makes the playoffs. It's kind of crazy that you think they go to the Super Bowl. We haven't even seen them with the playoff win yet. I think Justin Herbert is the most overrated quarterback in the entire NFL. I think that this Chargers team is a solid team offensively. I think defensively they have a lot of holes. I think that this is going to be a track meet type of game. I like the over, and I like the Dolphins straight up on the money line. I think the Dolphins are the better team in all facets of the game, except for quarterback. I give the slight edge to Justin Herbert, but I do think Tua is in that same breath. I think that the weapons for the Dolphins are going to be on full display with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and crew. I think this is a Dolphins team that was very good last year, and their problem was their quarterback couldn't stay healthy. I don't see that as a problem this year. It looks like he bulked up and he's ready to take this Dolphins team to, I think, being second in this division that they're in, right behind the New York Football Jets. So I'm taking the Miami Dolphins here straight up on the money line, and I think the Chargers are going to continue to be overrated, mediocre football team.
I think the Dolphins last year, when they made the trade for the pick and stuff that they got for Trey Lance the third time over, and they had picked up Bradley Chubb from the Broncos. It was a giant acquisition because Chubb is actually a premier pass rusher in the game. He never really fit into the Dolphins system last year because he came in kind of halfway through and things were kind of already set. The Dolphins were still a good team last year, and when Tua played, they won. That's really the bottom line. Teddy Bridgewater was the second stringer, and what we saw most of the way was Skylar Thompson, who was the third string QB, including in the playoff game where they had Buffalo dead to rights. They played Buffalo twice late in the season in Buffalo. Buffalo got them in a night game. I don't remember if it was on a holiday or Monday night or what it was, but they caught them exactly how they wanted them. 20 below zero, snowstorm, the whole thing. The Dolphins had the lead the whole way and let the fish off the hook right at the end of the game. That's how close this was. It was Skylar Thompson as your quarterback. And same thing in the playoffs. Thompson couldn't get the ball snapped, right? Remember that? He couldn't get the ball snapped, too much time, and it took 4th and inches into 4th and 5, and they ended up losing the game. But they were driving for the game-winning field goal. They pretty much had it. Most people knew it at that point. The thing is the Dolphins are so close, and I think if Tua stays healthy, I think they are going to the Super Bowl. They are stacked. Jalen Phillips is him and Rousseau, the two Miami guys, are the two most prolific, up-and-coming defensive pass rushers in the entire league. And I think that Phillips with Chubb is going to be a very, very good combination. While Boza signed the big contract, he deserves it. These guys are really going to be after the quarterbacks. And I think that is the forgotten piece here because the Dolphins already had, ball hawking secondary. I think the other side of it here, man, this Dolphins offense, who are you going to cover? How are you going to cover all these guys? They got weapon after weapon after weapon. And it's like, well, I think that Waddle and Hill might be a little bit overrated. I see them like on all-time best receiving tandem lists. It's like you haven't really done anything yet. It's like, I mean, Duper and Clayton and, even Drew Pearson and, his guys, Butch Johnson and all those guys were, accomplished much more. Swan and Stallworth and, I mean, they're listed like with Jerry Rice, and it's like they're not quite there yet. But I do think this Dolphins team has a ton of potential. Staley could be the worst coach in the NFL. I mean, he could be the worst coach out there. And Jay thinks Jay thinks Herbert's the most overrated quarterback. It's Anthony Richardson is the most overrated quarterback.
Oh my God. So Big Al's brought up Kellen Moore. He is the offensive coordinator now for the Chargers, and he does bring a lot of production from Dallas. But another thing that he brings is terrible route concepts, and he puts his quarterback in terrible positions. And I think he's going to do the same for Herbert. Yes, they can gain a lot of yards. Dallas led the league in offensive stats all the time, but a lot of choice routes, a lot of option routes, a lot of routes that you have to make a decision, and a lot of curls. Those lead to interceptions. I'm glad he's out of Dallas, and I'm interested to see how terrible he's going to look with the Chargers.
I'll disagree on this one. Anyway, it's another one that we could probably disagree on. So Jay, I don't know if you know this about Jay, Al, but on our morning show, he has a specific strategy betting baseball. Here's the Jay Briggs handicapping methodology. If you're an AL West team and you have a better record than the Texas Rangers, then you automatically take the other team. Or if you're another team battling it out for the Rangers in another division and have a better record than the Rangers in the wild card race, you take the other team. So anyone playing the Tampa Bay Rays, the Houston Astros, the Seattle Mariners, you always take the other team. That's the way that it works.
Okay.
That's the Jay Briggs baseball handicapping method. It's worked real well for him as the Rangers have. Anyone else takes the Rangers who have kind of let him down there. But anyways, we move on. We've got the Patriots taking on the Eagles. We got the team that did it, so many times, the Patriots, and the team that beat them actually in the Super Bowl, the Eagles. Eagles lost in the Super Bowl last year. I think this is just such an interesting game. Who's first here? I don't know who's first. Is it you, Jay, or is it me? It might be me. I think it's me. Let's see. Yep, Al took charge. Yep, it's you.
I'm taking the Patriots plus the 4, and I think that they have a legitimate shot to win it outright. It's Tom Brady Day here in New England, and I think this building is going to be rocking. It is. And I don't think you don't put any stock into that, but I'm putting some stock into it. I think this defense is going to be better than many people think. I think the Eagles are overvalued coming into the season. I do think they're one of the 3 best teams in the NFC, but the hype is getting a little unreal. This is a team that had one of the softest schedules I've ever seen last year. And they took full advantage of it, but I think defensively they're lacking a bit on the backside. I think offensively, they're probably still going to be pretty stout and still going to control both lines of scrimmage, which usually sets you up for great success. And I do think they'll be right there in the mix. Like I said, one of the best teams in the NFC, but I think there's a ton of value here on the Patriots plus 4. I think they will compete. I'm actually calling for the upset. I think the New England Patriots win this game straight up. But I'm going to grab the plus 4. I think we can see Mac Jones have a decent game, a typical Patriots game where they just control the clock, play great defense, run the football. Mac Jones hits who he needs to hit, and we're going to look up. This game's going to be tied in the 4th, and the Patriots cover and have a shot to win it outright.
The reason why I brought up Jay's theory is because I figured that pick was coming. I think I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go the Eagles. The Eagles lost in the Super Bowl. Once again, another Super Bowl decided on a penalty. 2 years in a row. The last play, the most important play of the Super Bowl, the last one, penalty in the final seconds of the game. I think the Eagles are a better team than they were last year. And I think that's almost scary. I think adding Swift to the backfield is an upgrade. I think that the defense is better than it was last year. I think they drafted well. They drafted well. They lost both coordinators, but the head coach is still there. And I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But I think when you look at this Patriots team, I think they're trying to figure out if Mac Jones is even a viable option as a starting quarterback because he has not been good at all. He stinks. And the problem is that he can't throw the deep ball. And this has been a problem with Alabama QBs, probably post Joe Namath and Ken Stabler, is that they can't throw the ball down the field if the defensive backs run the same speed as their wide receivers. Like it looks great in when they're playing against like Notre Dame or something, and Amari Cooper's got 4 steps on the defensive back, and Mac Jones just has to throw it down there as far as he can, and Cooper just runs under it. Yeah, that looks great. But when they have to actually play and throw the ball downfield accurately, they're not able to do it. And we see it time and time and time and time and time again from these Alabama quarterbacks. There's Jalen Hurts is an Oklahoma quarterback now, but he was an Alabama quarterback, and he's about as close as it gets. I got news for you. Tom Brady Day, not going to be a pretty day for the Patriots. That'll be all the celebrating that they get to do. I think the most interesting thing to me of this entire game is you have the defensive genius of all geniuses, right? The genius, Bill Belichick. The Eagles have that 4th down play where they run that scrum. If there's a guy who can figure out a way to stop it, this is the guy. So if he figures something out here and a way to stop it, everybody else will copy it going forward. You got to get low. It'll be interesting to see if they run that play and if Belichick is able to stop it because he certainly knows it's coming.
I lied. My worst beat last year was not that DJ Moore. It was it was the Patriots and that lateral play against the Raiders. That was my worst beat last year. Ew.
Alex, you.
Yeah, I mean, Patriots as a home dog versus the defending NFC conference champs. I have to grab the points with Bill Belichick's men. New England 31-16 ATS as a home dog or pick, including 23-7 ATS versus non-division foes. Philadelphia's a poor 10-22 ATS as a road favorite of -3 or more points, including 3-12 ATS in non-division games. And even worse for the Eagles when you take a look at how teams who played in the Super Bowl and lost the Super Bowl the previous year, how they've gone the next season on the non-division road, especially when they're a short favorite of -4 or less or 12-32. The underdog is 8-3 ATS in this series. There's too many points to give New England. I'm going to take the 4.
Seahawks against the Rams. Clappy. He's got the best set of wide receivers he's had in a while. Stuck with Geno Smith as quarterback. And
a couple updates from this game that came out while we were on live. Jackson and Jigba Smith, who had an injury, looks like he is a go to play in this game. Cooper Kupp ruled out week 1, could be placed back on IR for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, the points. Good information, Jay. And the point spread moved at circa 8 minutes ago. It moved from -5 to -5.5. So the official line right now is -5.5.
All right. Well, I like the Seahawks in this one. I think what we saw last year from the Rams was pretty much what you see from a team. We've seen it under McVay twice now. His team gets to the Super Bowl, and then they got to break the whole thing down. The way that the Rams, every team has its way, right, of doing it. The Rams is they stock up on free agents and make a run at it, a one-time run, and either they win or lose the Super Bowl. They won on a late crap call against the Bengals. They lost against the Patriots when Gronk beat them to the goal line for the only touchdown of the game. I think in this one, though, I think Clappy, Seattle's a tough building. I understand 5.5 points for a Seattle team that has a sieve defense last season, and they're missing their best defensive back. I understand 5.5's a ton, but this could be, we saw the Rams take some savage beatdowns, and this could be one of those. Like the 12th man, Clappy, all those things. I understand Aaron Donald's a great player, and I know Matthew Stafford's now a Super Bowl winning QB, which really tells you how little that means. I'm going to take the Seahawks here. I know it's probably the squarest play on the board. Al?
Oh, no such thing as a square side, only a square number.
Well, I got a
Um,
square number and a square side. I like them at 2.5.
I mean, again, we've got a lot of divisional matchups in this week one. Last year, the Seahawks, they did win both meetings versus the Rams, but Los Angeles covered the point spread in defeat in each game, and LA has now covered the spread in 5 straight versus Seattle. They're 8-1 in rivalry. And then when you take a look at how double revenge-minded underdogs of more than 3 points do in season-opening games, they've gone 42-19 ATS. I'm going to take Los Angeles plus the 5.
I'm going to take the Rams plus the points as well. I'm not sold on Geno Smith. That's where a lot of this disbelief comes. Yes, he had an amazing season last year, revitalized his career, but I'm still not sold. I think that he's still middle of the pack to bottom tier quarterback, in my opinion. I think this defense is probably still going to be a sieve, and I think offensively, the Rams may be able to score some points to keep this one close. The Rams, this roster is depleted from what it was a few years ago. This is a lot of younger guys, so I'm not really sure what we're going to see from them, but this is a divisional dog, like Big Al said, who covered both games last year when they were arguably way worse than they probably are coming into this year. I do think Seattle is the better team and probably will go 2-0 in this again, and I hate that Cooper Kupp is not playing, but I'm still looking to grab the points here with the Rams.
All right. 2 more left to go. Giants and the Cowboys, Sunday night football. Oh, no, is it Sunday night? I think it is Sunday night. I got the wrong time on it.
It's Sunday night.
I got the wrong time on the game. But anyways, Sunday night football. Giants and the Cowboys. Giants, 3-point favorite.
Yeah, I mean, the line's 3.5 at circa, for those who care, but it's 3 in a lot of places as well. It's one of those split lines.
I see Westgate 3.5 also, but light juice.
Yeah. It's not going to make a difference for me because I'm going to be looking at the total, but, the Giants now 14-1 under the total in their last 15 home games when installed as an underdog or pick. Dallas 23-12 under the total their last 35 road games when installed as the favorite. Let's see what the line is here. It's 46.5. I'm going to take it under the 46.5.
Y'all know where I'm at, man. Sunday night football. The Cowboys, we don't lose to the Giants and Daniel Jones. We don't do that. This is a layup, man. We're taking them boys. We're laying the 3. We're going to kick the crap out of the Giants like we always do. I know the Giants were an absolute cover machine last year. Made the playoffs and won a playoff game. Hats off to them. It was a great season. I think this year they're going to be last in the division. I really do. I think the Commanders are going to be a better football team. I think Daniel Jones should not have gotten the extension. I think the holdout of Saquon Barkley created some distractions from this team. I'm not as sold on Brian Daboll as many others people are. I think this defense probably is going to get carved up quite a bit in this game. I think the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFC. I think that defensively they really made some great additions and adding Stephon Gilmore to their defense. I think Micah Parsons is set to have an amazing season and be the best defensive player in the game. I think Dak Prescott cuts down on his interceptions. I think Mike McCarthy now calling plays will bode well for the Cowboys. I think no longer having Zeke kind of change the pace of the offense, now having Pollard as the feature back really sets up well. I love our backup running back as well in Deuce Vaughn. Again, Daniel Jones in games where Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback of the Cowboys, 0-5. We never lose to the Giants. It just doesn't happen. I don't think the Giants are the same team of last year. I think the Cowboys kick the crap out of them on Sunday Night Football like we always do.
I'm taking the Giants in this one at home dog on night game. Dak Prescott really has never shown us anything that he has the ability to win any kind of big games since he never has. And I think this is a big game and the home opener for the Giants and against a coach that covers like no one's business. Last year, man, I thought that first game against the Titans, that was a really horrible spot for the Giants. And the Giants, well, they said it wasn't, and they ended up winning that game outright. They are a good opening day team and a good opening day coach, and a coach that kind of the opposite of the way that the Cowboys have been. The Cowboys have been a team that continues to shoot themselves in the foot. And in the big games, like the game last year at home against the Eagles on Sunday night, they got ran over. And I think they're in big trouble here in New York against the
We
Giants.
got what? We got what? What happened? Run that back.
Steamrolled. Steamrolled.
Run that back. Run that back. No, it didn't. That did not. You refresh your memory. That did not happen. You're talking about the game with our. You're talking about the game with our backup quarterback where we covered the point spread on the road in Philadelphia. You're talking about that game, or are you talking about the one where they came to our building?
The one where you're down like 35 points at halftime.
Yeah, and we came back and covered the point spread.
Well, yeah, they went into a soft prevent zone.
We had a legitimate shot to win it outright with Cooper Rush at the helm. You talking about that game against the team that went to the Super Bowl? That team? Oh, okay.
The one where you were crying at halftime. That one, the Cowboy game on your birthday.
Yeah, covered the point spread. This is a back-to-back 12-win team. This is a back-to-back 12-win team poised to have its best season, I think, in my lifetime. I really do. I think we're going to the Super Bowl. I think my Super Bowl right now is Cincinnati and Dallas, and I think Dallas wins it for the first time in my lifetime. That's no fandom. That is straight handicap. That's what I think.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
That's what I think.
Okay. Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, as they say, as the old saying goes. And my opinion is I'm taking the Giants plus the points. I think money line, not a bad, horrible place to be. We've got the Jets and the Bills going off in this one. It is the Aaron Rodgers gets Monday night at home for his Jets opener. All eyes are on him. They would have been on him if it was a Sunday 1 o'clock Eastern time game as well, but it's not. And the Bills, well, you know what? Since that DeMar Hamlin game in Cincinnati, they were never really the same. They were just never ever the same team. I saw Dawkins had a delayed flight, and saw Deion Dawkins in the airport lounge. It was like, this is how much football I watch. I recognize the guy, right? It's like
it would be scary. It would be scary if he recognized you, Mitch.
I know, but it was like, you're Deion Dawkins in the Bills, right? Yes, I am. And do you get recognized a lot? He's like, no. Anyways, man, he's a big guy, and he was pretty excited about what the Bills were going to be doing this season. Why not? I mean, this team has been very, very good for a long time. There's no argument as to where their quarterback ranks in the grand scheme of things. It's just a matter of 2, 3, 4, right? I mean, we got to get Patrick Mahomes number 1, Joe Burrow or Josh Allen for number 2, right? So, I mean, there's no question marks. There's no any of these things. It's just, can they regroup? It looked like a team that just never, ever regrouped last year. So, can they regroup? Like I said earlier, Ruffolo, I think, is going to be the most improved player in the entire NFL. He was great last year. I think he's going to be kind of that Bosa status as a pass rusher. Aaron Rodgers has lost a step, and the Jets line is a sieve. I like the Bills in this one.
Who's up?
You.
Me. Okay. I'm going to take the under. It's a Monday Night Football divisional contest. It's competitively priced with a line less than 6 points. The over-under line greater than 42. Those type of games tend to go under the total. They've cashed 67% over 43 years. Both meetings between these two teams have gone way under the total. The first meeting was won by the Jets 20-17. That went under the total of 46 by 9 points. Then the second meeting, even less scoring, 20-12 final. That went under the total of 43.5 by 11.5 points. I think these division rivals go under once again. I'm going to take it under the 46.5.
I love that play. I do.
It's like Cowboys.
Divisional under. I mean, primetime unders last year was money. I just feel like I forget what the stat was, but I feel like primetime unders were really coming in last year. I'm taking the Jets here. Was it 2.5? I think they went outright. I think the Jets win this division. I think the Bills have a legitimate shot to miss the playoffs. I think many people are still high on this Bills team, and I think that they're not going to be as good as many people think. I think that the Jets take a step up, and the Dolphins are the two teams in this division that are going to really rule it. And a lot of it has to do with this team's playing a first-place schedule. I know that sounds like something crazy to say at the beginning of the year. I know. But when you go really deep dive this Bills schedule, man, it is tough as nails. And I got this team losing about 7-8 games. Like I think it's that close. And with that being said, they're really on the bubble for probably missing the playoffs, especially in a very, very tough competitive AFC. I think the Jets will be tenfold better with Aaron Rodgers. I really do. I think his morale has improved. I think he has the best receiving core around him that he's had in a long time. I think he has the best weapons group that he has around him in a long time. I love their running back duo with Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall. I think many people forget how dominant Breece Hall was before the injury last year. I think he could really have a big game here. I think that the Bills' defense is going to have some problems. I think Josh Allen is the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. I think that
I thought you said that Justin Herbert was the most overrated quarterback in the NFL.
Both of them. It's both of them.
It's a tie. It's a tie.
Both of these guys, everybody wants to anoint them as top 5 with very minimal success.
It's a tie.
I would say Herbert's a little more overrated because he doesn't have the success that Josh Allen. At least Josh Allen we've seen have playoff success.
I'm just talking about talent. Like Dan Marino never had success. He was maybe the most talented quarterback in the history.
See, that's not that doesn't do it for me, because if we're talking pure talent, there's a lot of guys I think have more talent than Josh Allen that may not get the nod that he does. Many people think of Josh Allen as the second best quarterback in the league. I don't know how they think that.
Or third.
I think Lamar Jackson has way more talent.
Well, Lamar Jackson is right. I mean, but again, I think these are all great quarterbacks. I don't care that Justin Herbert, it's his 4th year. I don't care that he hasn't won a title yet. I can just watch him play and know he's a great
it's not that he hasn't won a title. He hasn't won a playoff game. It's hard for me to anoint these guys and say that they're all this, all that when they don't have the success to do it, especially when I, as a Cowboy fan, have to hear all the hate that everybody wants to pile on Dak Prescott when this guy has
guilty as charged.
When this guy has led the league in passing yards, when this guy has,
because they have to play from behind, man. When you're down by 100 every game because your quarterback can't complete a pass the first half, you're throwing on every down. You're going to throwing for the most yards means your team stinks. If you throw for the most yards, your team stinks. That's what
I think that Stephon Diggs wanted out of Buffalo for a reason. I know he's trying to walk it back now, but I think the Buffalo Bills are in deep, deep doo-doo this season, and they're going to be 3rd in their division. I feel really comfortable if they'll finish 3rd in their division, and I don't think that it's not a bad place to be. I'm pretty sure it's pretty good plus money that they missed the playoffs.
Jay loves the hype teams. He loves the hype teams.
Well, Jay, you were talking about the prime time over-unders or whatever. I just looked it up. The Monday night games last year went under 10 out of 17. Thursday night games, although this would include Thanksgiving, they were under the total 12 out of 19.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, it was an interesting show, as it always is. Next week, we'll see exactly how we did this week. And, of course, we'll move on to week 2. We'll have some more information under our belts. Still always a little tough to tell. Week 1 is always a little bit different than the rest of the weeks. We've seen teams win in week 1 and not win again. It happens. It's happened more than once. Should be an interesting season, and obviously a lot of disagreement here, which usually makes for some more spirited fun as well. I think we'll have a few debated topics, and I think what I'll do is I'll start keeping some graphics on some of these topics and seeing it. But I will say right now that passing yards is one of the more overrated
I would also say this too.
Your team
One
stinks.
thing to remember: half the teams that make the playoffs last year do not make
it this year. So the Cowboys are out. Cowboys are out. Cowboys are out.
In our
Commanders,
division,
baby.
In
Commanders.
in the NFC East since 2005, there's never been a back-to-back divisional winner. So if you're also hyped on the Eagles,
pretty good chance this year.
Yep.
So if you're also, no, it's not happening. It's the Cowboys. Go grab that at plus money, y'all. I'm trying to put y'all on.
Thanks everyone for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. It's been a hell of a show, and I expect, like I said, it to be a heck of a season here. We did it last year, and we had an amazing season. And this year, I think it's going to be even better. I said it at the beginning. So, Jay and Al, as always, thank you. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, 3 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be locked and loaded, and probably, you guys know, for a couple minutes late having the show on the air, it's because we're just arguing behind the scenes before the show even starts. That's basically how these YouTube shows work. Have an awesome week 1. Bet with your head, man. Don't bet over it. This is not the time to say, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. I personally, if you see that, let me know, because I don't personally see that. So if you guys see one that's an all-in, greatest thing that's ever happened, let me know. But outside of that, anyways, we're going to try and act more professional next week. Have a winning day.